You're Locked On Penguins, your daily podcast on the Pittsburgh Penguins, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Well, I hope part of the intro did not just get screwed up there because it kind of paused for a second and then it totally came back. So I'm going to have to look at that when I edit this. But welcome to this Thursday edition of the Locked On Penguins podcast, Christmas Eve. As all the kids say, I am your host, Hunter Hodes. Remember to follow me on Twitter at Hunter Hodes. You can also follow the show's Twitter at LO_Penguins. And of course, thank you all so much for making this your first listen of the day. Going to be a different show today. We're going to go into some bold predictions for the first segment, what I expect, just with some players this year, with the rest of the season, I should say. We're going to get into the holiday video that the Penguins released today because that was absolutely hilarious. And then go into my top games that I've watched over the holidays, Penguins related. I know they don't play too much usually around Christmas, but they did play. Oh, well, if I say the one that I'm going to say, it's just going to be spoiled. So there's definitely two or three that I have in mind that I'm going to bring up just because of how epic they were. But start us off, some bold predictions for the last 50 or so games for the Penguins. Number one, Tristan Jarry. Is this really bold? I think it kind of could be still because no one really thought that this was even going to be a thought coming into this season, and there's still a few goaltenders who people would rank ahead of him, but I think Tristan Jarry will be named a Vezina finalist at the end of the season. The year that he is having right now is just flat out ridiculous. Again, he's top 5 in goals saved above expected. His save percentage is getting closer to 940, and it's around 930, 932 right now. And he's given the team, a chance to win on an every night basis, and just I would have been fine with him being average this year, 915, 920, but, he has exceeded that and then some. I've said it many times, a lot of credit could go to Andy Chiodo, but, a fair bit of the credit should go to Jarry himself for coming back and playing like the goaltender that, some thought he could be after that awesome showing in 2019-20. Then he also had that great playoff game against Montreal. Obviously, we all know what happened against the Islanders, but if he can keep that up for this year, this team is going to be just a big tough out, I think is the way to say it. So that's my number one bold prediction. My second one, I think Danton Heinen is going to score 25 goals by the end of the season. He's already at 9 right now. 16 more in 50 games. I think that's doable with how he's playing right now. You could still stick him on the third line. Heck, you could put him on Gino's line when Malkin is ready to go, if that's next week or, the week after New Year's. But from what I've seen so far, my second bold prediction is that Heinen will score 25 this year. I don't know if that's going to happen. It's just, again, that's a bold prediction for a reason, just because, it has the word bold in it, but it wouldn't shock me if he did because he is on another level right now. I think he'll for sure get to 20, but 25 is where I'm thinking he'll end up right now. I think Chris Letang is going to come close to being a Norris line. I think you're going to see him score 55 to 60 points at the end of the season. And is that really bold considering what he's done throughout his career? I'm not too sure, but with how much older he's gotten overall, I still think it should be a bit of a bold prediction just because, I don't think anyone has expected him to continue to play at this level this season. And I know he was awesome last year, but, he's taking it, again, to a whole completely level this year. So I think I will classify that as, I guess, not as bold as the Heinen or Jarry one, especially I think not the Heinen one, but I still think Letang will get to 55 to 60 points by the end of this and scoring by the end of the season. Bank on it right now. I know he's far behind a lot of the top scorers, but Sid has this tendency to really wake up. Once he's been practicing for a while, once he's been playing for a while, I think by the end of this season, you will see Sid with all those top players in the top 10 of the NHL scoring. Now, is he going to win the Art Ross? Absolutely not. It's looking like one of Leon Draisaitl, Connor McDavid, Alex Ovechkin, a couple others are one of those players is probably going to win the Art Ross. But I would still expect Sid to be, I shouldn't say in the conversation, but behind those players a little bit where it's like, okay, we're used to seeing Sidney Crosby there, right? I definitely think he will be at that point by the time the season ends. I got one for Kasperi Kapanen. I think in a bit of a way he will rediscover some old magic from last season while playing with Evgeny Malkin. That probably seems like the one that's not going to come to fruition the most. But I am still a bit of a believer in him. I know he's been really bad this year. I've talked a lot about it on this podcast before, but him and Gino had a strong chemistry last season, and I really think you will see that carry over once Malkin comes back in a week or two. So that's my prediction right now. I'm not saying he's going to score 40 points like he did last season. It was, what was it, 10 goals, 30 points, if I'm not mistaken, was what it was. Excuse me. But I will say that I do think he is going to turn his season around in a big way and produce a lot more than what he has been recently. I know the underlying numbers have been really good. I touched on it on my last episode. If you haven't listened to that, I've touched on it multiple times throughout the last week and a half to 2 weeks. But I do think that he will, again, finish on a strong note. Exact number, if I had to give one right now, I think I'm gonna say half a point per game. I think he can get to 40 points. It's gonna be really tough though because he would have to do 40 points in 50 games. But these are bold predictions for a reason. Not all of them are gonna pan out. But again, there's real chemistry with Gino, and I think you will see that once Evgeny Malkin comes back. As for what, it's not going to be on the defense. I think they're going to go out and potentially get another forward. It wouldn't be surprising if they go out and get a top 9 forward, though. Do they really need one right now? That's the serious question. You could certainly make an argument that they don't, but with how this season is shaping up to be, this could be the last big run for this core group of players, especially with how many players need to be re-signed or are free agents after this season. I do think you will see Ron try to go as all in as possible to get Sid, Gino, and Letang that 4th Stanley Cup. I do think he will strike for a trade. I mean, remember what his logic was for the Jeff Carter one last season, right? He came out to the media and he said, I wanted to reward the team with a deal because of the way they were playing down the stretch. They were really impressing me with their hot play and all that. I think you will see something similar here, especially if they keep up this amazing winning streak that they're on right now. They're the hottest team in the league. I know the season's paused, but whatever at this point. But I still think you will see Hextall go out and make a trade. As for who, I'm not really sure. I'm not going to go out here and say a player. That's probably not going to happen. I wish I could say JT Miller because that would be a slam dunk for so many reasons. But at this point, I don't see that happening. I think he's probably going to go to a different team. Or, Vancouver could try to make a run like they are doing right now under Bruce Boudreau. And they could just hold on to him. So we'll have to see what happens on that one. I'm trying to think of 1 to 2 more now. I was going to say one for Jason Zucker, but I'm also not too confident in it. I also think he will turn his season around a little bit. I did say 25 goals for the season. That's looking like a bit too unrealistic right now. But, the team is probably going to put him back with Gino and see what he can do with him and Kapanen. I'm not ready to give up on him just yet, even though, the cost to get him is looking like an overpayment right now. But the time is now for him to get going. He needs to start putting the puck in the back of the net. I know he's hit a lot of posts. I know he's hit a lot of crossbars, but you know what? These excuses can only continue for so long. I know his playmaking ability has been really good, but, the Penguins got this player because he's a really good scorer. And he's had a 30-goal season before. He's had multiple 20-goal seasons. I think a lot of people, including myself, were expecting him to be back to 20 goals this season, and he hasn't been close so far. So he needs to be more consistent. I think you will see some consistency from him down the stretch as well. Other bold predictions, I think that might actually, no, when Jake Kensel comes back, and I do think that's going to be after Christmas break against Boston. I think that's going to happen. He will finish top 10 in overall goals scored this season, potentially even top 5. He was on track to be close to the Rocket Richard race before he got hurt. Obviously, it stunk that he did. The fact that he's already back skating with the team shows that the injury was not too serious. A lot of that were the case. But I think you will see him finish in the top 5 to top 10 in the Rocket Richard race by the end of the season. But those are all my bold predictions for the Penguins for the rest of the 50 games. Let me know what your bold predictions are for the rest of the season, as the season is expected to continue early next week with a game against those Boston Bruins. It'll be the first time Pittsburgh and Boston have squared off since last season, where the Penguins lost 5 of 8, if I recall correctly. But up in the next segment, we're going to go into the Penguins holiday video that they released and go into what, my favorite holiday video was, just because it's that kind of time of year, right? I mean, I've watched all the holiday videos. The one today that they made was hilarious, even though it was just kind of a mix. If you haven't seen it, you can go on the Penguins social media pages, or I might try to put a link to it in the description box on the YouTube page. But it was great. But overall, no one plays daily fantasy sports to lose. Winning feels so much better, but traditional fantasy sports are a long-term losing proposition because you never know who or what you are up against. StatHero is the first of its kind daily fantasy sports platform where it's you versus the house in head-to-head fantasy matchups, winner take all. And here's the crazy part. StatHero shows you their lineups before you play, and they handpick the team that you can actually handpick the team you want to face one-on-one. This never-before-seen innovation of a fantasy sports and sports betting hybrid has StatHero players clocking odds that are 4 times better. Why? Because you don't have to compete against thousands of experts or unknowns. StatHero puts you in control of your fate. With StatHero, you are in control of the stakes. You decide how much you're going to play for, choice but to take it because they're daring you to beat them. StatHero head-to-head is what daily fantasy sports should be, one-on-one. You can sign up today free right now at stathero.com/hockey and use the promo code hockey for a 100% deposit match. That is stathero.com/hockey. Use promo code hockey for a 100% match. One more time for you all, stathero.com/hockey. Promo code hockey. Terms and conditions apply. All right, welcome back to this episode of the Locked On Penguins podcast. I am your host, Hunter Hodes. Remember to follow me on Twitter at Hunter Hodes. Follow the show's Twitter at LO_Penguins. So the Penguins holiday video today was nothing, but it was just hilarious. I mean, they like to make their own version of a Christmas movie, Home Alone, Grinch. I think one year they close to the Gremlins or something like that. But this year they decided to combine all of the ones that they have done into a single video. You have Evgeny Malkin out here just screaming bingo every 5 seconds, like all the Penguins fans use the GIF on social media or message boards or wherever you see it on. That was great. You had Sidney Crosby rekindling his hello, well, because it was about a few years ago they did their first Home Alone movie during the holidays, and I think it was Josh Getzoff narrating it. And Sid is, Kevin on the ground because, in the movie Home Alone, he shoots Marv, who's trying to cut through the dog entry. And Sid is just like, hello. And then he just shoots whoever it was in the head in the video. I'm like blanking on the name. But you saw Casey DeSmith getting his head lit on fire during the Home Alone thing as a tribute to Phil Kessel, because that was a meme that was going all around Penguins message boards and social media when they released that video. I want to say that was about 4 to 5 years ago. Absolutely hilarious. And you had John Marino in a wife beater. I didn't realize how jacked John Marino was, because you look at that dude and he looks like just a skinny little hockey player. That dude is jacked. I think he was playing Bruce Willis, I believe, from Die Hard in the video they released today, which was awesome. It's just the Penguins always crush these holiday videos. I'm not surprised anymore. The Home Alone one is probably my favorite. It's probably my favorite over the other ones. Dan Potash being Kevin's mom is absolutely hilarious as well. He always does a great job with that. I mean, Brock McGinn is in the video just laughing around. They even made a joke to Kasperi Kapanen in one of the videos. They also did a joke with Brandon Tanev in the video today. And I love that the Penguins even had some GIFs out there. They even said Phil would be proud as Casey DeSmith was getting his head on fire. Best actor went to Kasperi Kapanen because he was being hilarious. Letang was playing the Grinch, and he basically had a line of, well, this is messing up my hair because he has grown his hair out again. And yes, what does this podcast come to, everyone? I am sitting here talking to you all about on a segment about the Penguins holiday videos because this league is on a pause right now. I understand it's probably not um, the the best topic that some want to hear about, but I find it funny, and I hope a lot of you that listen to this podcast are finding it at least a little bit funny as well if you haven't listened to it. If you could tell me what your favorite holiday videos are, that would be great. Just tweet me at Hunter Hoodies. You can tweet the show at locked_on_penguins. So sorry, I something popped up on my laptop as I'm recording. Of course, my girlfriend is trying to call me as I'm doing this. So I'm actually just sending this text. Okay, and then we're done with that. That's the first time since I've had the YouTube channel that that's happened. But you know what? You learn and you live from it, as one of my buddies likes to say. And we're back to talking about the holiday videos. The Grinch one again. That was awesome. John Marino saying in one of the gifts, "Can I still say yippity ki yay?" as that saying from the movie that he's playing goes. Again, Gino saying bingo because that's just who he is at this point. But yeah, again, my favorite video is Home Alone. The Grinch one was also pretty decent as well when they did that. I do want them to do Die Hard again at some point. Or if they've actually, now that I think about it, I don't think they've ever done that. They've done quite a few movies, but I do not think they've ever done Die Hard. I mean, it's also been a movie that's pretty highly debated if it is a Christmas movie. In my opinion, I think it is. So I think the Penguins should totally and flat out do the movie for 1 year. But I overall liked the holiday video. It was a lot of fun to tweet out there. Everyone is just laughing at John Marino's muscles because no one expected him, to be that big. The tank top that he's wearing is hilarious. But wanted to spend a little bit of a segment to touch on something a little more lighthearted for the podcast and just go into, the holiday video and whatnot. Coming up in the third segment, we're going to go into my favorite holiday games or that the Penguins have played in throughout the years that I've been a fan. I'm going to go into my top 2 or 3 and explain why I have them up there as my top ones. But before we do that, BetOnline has you covered this holiday season that with more props, odds, and lines than ever before as football continues its march through the college bowl season and the NFL playoffs in a few weeks. BetOnline remains your number one spot for all the sports action this season. You can head to the website or use a mobile device to sign up today and receive a 50% off welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use our promo code LOCKEDON to receive that bonus. For basketball, football, NHL, boxing, right to your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports. So don't wait to take advantage of all those new amazing offers available to you. That is BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, welcome back to this episode of the Locked On Penguins podcast. I am your host, Hunter Hoodies. Remember to follow me on Twitter at Hunter Hoodies. Follow the show's Twitter at LO_Penguins. So my favorite game around the holidays, this is probably my top one. This actually occurred during Thanksgiving. I know it's with Christmas coming up. The Penguins, I mean, obviously everyone's going to look for a Christmas game, but I'm also going to include one that happened after Christmas, after this one I talk on. But my favorite one around any holiday season was the game against Vancouver 2 years ago, November 27, 2019. It was that wild one where Pittsburgh was down 4-2 going into the third period. They were even down 6-3 in the third period alone with about 10 minutes left. And all of a sudden, the Penguins just go on a tear. They score 6 goals overall in that period. Gino has a 5-point night with 2 goals. Jake Gensel scores 2 goals as well. Brian Rust, Chris Letang score. Ashton Reese was the one, I believe, that tied the game. Dominic Cahoon scored. Chris Letang actually scored the winner in that game. If I recall correctly, that winner was scored with only 1 to 2 minutes left, and the Penguins were able to ice it with an empty netter just about 30 seconds to a minute later to win that game 8-6. Just a tremendous performance, I thought, because it looked like it was all but over. But then the Penguins launched one of the best comebacks that I've ever seen. So for all the holiday seasons, that one, they always usually have a game on New Year's Eve. The one that is usually the best around this time of year, it came 2016-2017 season, so the second of the back-to-back cups. The Penguins are playing Montreal December 31st, 2016. Pittsburgh takes an early lead. Montreal is able to come back and tie it. It's back and forth a little bit, so the game goes to overtime. And that was the game where it was a 4-on-3 power play, and Evgeny Malkin blasts the game winner at about 9:30 p.m. on New Year's Eve. And he basically, just puts his stick up, and he has his face going all crazy. And I think there was even a meme made of him saying, it'll come to me, but basically like, can you feel me now, or something like that? Oh, no, not that one. I got it, finally. Are you not entertained? I have to find that picture. I'm pretty sure I still have that on my phone, to be honest. But that was another one of my favorite games from the holiday season. There was another one a couple years before that against the Red Wings. That was a close game for a little bit. And then Pittsburgh was able to blow them out in the third period. I want to say that came in 2015 or 2016, something like that. And they won that game. I want to say it was 5-2. I'm pretty sure that was one of the games that a lot of the Penguins fans circled on the calendar. Yeah, it was the 2015-16 season because the Penguins were kind of playing up and down hockey up until that point under Mike Sullivan. But that was the win where people were like, okay, if they can build off that win, and again, that happened New Year's Eve 2015 going into 2016, the first half of the back-to-backs. If they can build off that win, this team could be really something. And they did that and then some, obviously, after that game and just for the rest of that season, just because of how hot they got for the 2016 season. But that was one of my favorite holiday games ever. The Black Friday games, they don't usually do too well in those. I remember they played Boston about a few years ago, played well in a few stretches, but then kind of just got blown out in the third period. I mean, the Penguins have also lost to the Bruins every year at TD Garden. That's going back to, I think it's 2014. They have not won in that building in the last 7 have won at the United Center in close to, if not over, a decade at this point. For whatever reason, the Penguins just cannot win in those buildings. I don't get it. Other holiday games that I can think of, I know those were more recent, but they still just, they meant a lot just because of how great the team played in those games and how much, it fueled them for those back-to-back cups. Obviously, the one in 2019 with the Canucks was a bit different. That happened right after Thanksgiving. But, it was still a fun game to watch. It was probably the game of the year considering what happened in the playoffs for the Penguins against the Islanders. But, with the holiday season coming up, just wanted to go into, my top 3 games around, well, with the holiday season, it started around Thanksgiving. It's now fully here with Christmas and New Year's. I wanted to go into my top 3 holiday games overall for the Penguins towards the late stages of the year. Just, go into why they meant so much to me and, I think why they should mean so much to Penguins fans as a whole as well. But I hope you all enjoy this episode of the Locked On Penguins podcast. Excuse me. I know we're getting, there's not much content out there these days just because the team they're not doing anything. They're not allowed to do anything with a pause until early next week. But, this is why you come to my show, right? You want to be entertained. You want good topics to hear me touch on. I try my best to provide the best content in the city, no matter if it's writing, podcasting, video and whatnot. I'm not going to come to a show and just not be prepared. It looks poorly on me, looks poorly on the people that hired me. And, that would probably be the last time I think I would have some listeners of this show. That's something I can't do. But I appreciate everyone who listens to this episode. There will be, and this podcast as a whole, there will be an episode coming out tomorrow on Christmas Eve for you all. So look for that then. And then I hope you all have a wonderful Merry Christmas on the weekend on Saturday. We will be back with 5 episodes next week as well, as the team will be back in action. I'm excited. I wish the team was playing tonight so I could give you all a full game recap, but COVID gets in the way. Hopefully this is the only pause that we see this season. But again, thank you all so much for listening to this episode, and I will talk to you all on Friday.